Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time it is, wherever you are, whoever you are. Welcome once again to Nerd Week Live, the show in which we, the folks at Nerd Caliber, talk about nerd news that has happened over the past week since our last show last Tuesday. I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor in chief of Nerd Caliber, first person shooter on Facebook and Instagram as a cosplay photographer, Burley underscore adopter on the ragged dregs of Twitter, and Burley Adopter and Mastodon and some other social media places. Before we get into tonight's show, we'll do our first promo, and that is, of course, as we always do, to talk about the fact that we do stream this on Twitch, in addition to YouTube and Facebook Live. So we would love to have you, if you have a Twitch account, to join us there, to check us out on Twitch. URL on your screen right now, twitch.tv/nerdcaliber. And we're looking to grow our numbers there like we have really successful numbers on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you've got an account, please do check us out there, twitch.tv/nerdcaliber. All right, our first topic, and if you have watched the show in the last couple of weeks, you notice I was trying a different format. I went back to the old original format where my face isn't on the screen for the entire time. Because for reasons. Anyway, so first topic, and it's very sad news. I'm pretty sure you've all seen this. Last Friday, the actor Lance Reddick passed away at the age of 60 from what has still been described as natural causes. I don't know what that means. He was, by all accounts, well, first off, he had 4 or 5 pieces of acting work in the pipeline. And by all accounts, he was playing online the game Destiny 2 the night before he passed away. Now, it could still be natural causes. It absolutely could be he had a cerebral hemorrhage, a stroke. Who knows what went on. And we don't know yet. But he is best known for that image right there, that character. That is Charon, the hotel manager of the Continental in the John Wick franchise. I know him from a ton of nerd content, and he has done a lot of nerd work. One of my favorites, and one of the earliest ones that he had a really long run on, was the series Fringe. He played Philip Broyles, the FBI, I think, senior special agent. I'd have to look that up. In charge of the division that was nicknamed the Fringe Division that looked into these particularly bizarre and unexplainable phenomenon. And that's kind of the role he really made his name for. Being a tough, sometimes sensitive, but almost always tough, man in charge of some sort of authoritarian, or not authoritarian, some sort of authority agency. In this case, the FBI. Pardon me. Now, he's not always a good guy. His most recent famous or well-known nerd live-action work was as Albert Wesker in the Netflix Resident Evil series that sadly tanked and is generally considered to be pretty awful. But he is an excellent. Hold on a second. I'm just, for some reason, my Twitch wasn't fully caught up to me here. There we go. But I'm sure he wasn't the thing that brought this down. He is an amazing actor, and he for me, the first thing that I noticed him in was The Wire. Cedric Daniels, he was in, I think, every season as a major role. And again, starting out as a police lieutenant and working all the way up to colonel in charge of the Baltimore PD. And he's a fantastic job. I did not know that he was in so much voice work, or he did so much voice work content, including in a few episodes, Falcon in the Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes, in a few episodes, Ra's al Ghul in one of the Batman cartoon series. So you can get it really quickly in his very extensive Beware the Batman. But he's probably most known among gaming nerds as playing this character. This is from Destiny, and he played this character whose name I don't remember. So Commander Zavala in all the Destiny games and DLC. So very important character. And I know that there are people out there who are going to yell at me for not knowing this. He was this character Silence in, and I'm sure I'm butchering that name because I've not played the games, in Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West. In which case, the character model is 100% based on him, clearly. Lance Reddick was an absolutely fantastic actor. I didn't know that his first love was music. He got his degree from the music school at the Eastman School of Music at the University of Rochester in upstate New York, and then moved to Boston in an attempt to become a rock star in the 80s. And apparently that didn't work out well, because his style of music apparently was very jazz-oriented. And that wasn't the kind of thing people were looking for in Boston in the 80s. Having said that, I went to very many jazz concerts in the 1980s at Berkeley Performance Center in Boston. So, but that's just me. I'm sure I would have loved to have seen him perform. But he hurt his back doing like a menial job, paper delivery of all things, and wound up trying to figure out what he could do. And he decided that, he was seeing a lot more auditions for acting roles than he was for music. So that's where he went. And thank God for us that he did. I would love to have heard any of his music. I never watched the series Corporate, in which he played, a CEO of a corporation. And apparently he brought into that role the idea that that character sits and thinks playing at a piano. So I'll have to look up some of those clips to see, what he's like as a piano player. But I really liked Lance Reddick's work. From everything I've heard, he's a wonderful person, or was a wonderful person. And that coming from people like Keanu Reeves, who, kind of know what wonderful people are. And it's a shame for those of us who are fans. Obviously, our condolences go out to his family, his friends, and his fans, his surviving family. He does have 2 children, and he is survived by his wife. So, very sad news that we lost this incredible talent. I don't know that anybody ever offered him anything, but my God, can you imagine all of the possibilities that he could have been in either the Marvel or the DC superhero universe? Lewis Crash has joined us in the chat. We got him as an actor, which is awesome. Yeah, he was an avid Destiny player too, as also the voice of this. I just immediately lost his name again. Zavala, Commander Zavala. Like he was well known for teaming up with players and having a great time raiding. Good for him. Yeah, he's clearly a nerd. There's no question about that. A gamer nerd, a music nerd, in general a nerd, voicing things from Batman and so on, the Falcon. And it's a shame. It's a real shame that he's gone. But, unfortunately, it comes for all of us, as they say. All right, moving on to our next topic. And our next topic is not much happier. I mean, a little bit happier because it doesn't involve anybody dying. And that is the Disney Plus series Willow has maybe or maybe not been canceled, or extremely longly postponed, or, well, it's a little unclear. So the news came out that there would not be a season 2 at all of the series that continued the story of the movie Willow. Since then, the showrunner, John Kasdan, brother of the director Lawrence Kasdan, has said that it is not technically canceled. It just does not have a renewal date for season 2, and because of that, they released all of the actors from their contracts. Sure, they can hire them back. Sure, there's a possibility that, they could pick it up again in, 2 years or 3 years or however. It's canceled. Let's get real. It got moderately good reviews by most of the reviewers out there. I thought it was terrible. You can go to nerdcaliber.com and look at my review. I just... awful writing, terribly tonally different acting from one actor to another. They didn't know whether they were in, Dude, Where's My Car or Game of Thrones. It was all over the place. Getting back to the image, Warwick Davis was fantastic. It was a thrill to see him come back. And he was the only one, almost the only one, with the chops to deliver the kind of terrible exposition dialogue that was in this show and make you kind of believe it. Everybody else was just like, oh, come on, really? So yeah, I was not a big fan when I saw that it was canceled, and then Kasdan tried to clarify that it's not technically canceled. I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense to me. It's not good. It doesn't have to be high art, high fantasy, but I haven't seen it yet, but based on all of the reviews that I'm hearing about a funny sort of D&D campaign influenced story, the actual D&D, Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves, is fantastic. You can do it. You can have the funny humor. You can have the people who talk in normal American accents. You can do it if the writing is good. And the writing in this Willow series was just terrible. So, yeah. It may or may not be canceled. Nobody who is in the cast has had their contracts renewed, or if they have been released from their contracts, let's put it that way. That is the way Kasdan describes it. So yeah, it's not going to happen anytime soon, if it happens at all. My guess would be, if it happens at all, they'll do another reboot. It'll be that long. Because one, that's a thing. People are willing to reboot stuff within less than 10 years now, as opposed to waiting 30 years for this. And two, yeah, somebody at Disney has to look at this and go, yeah, no, it just, sorry, thanks for playing, but this one didn't work. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it again with different people. So, yeah, Willow is maybe canceled. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say maybe canceled. What is not canceled and what is coming back, and something I'm very excited to see, is just today Netflix dropped a teaser trailer, I guess, because it's fairly lengthy, for season 2 of the series Sweet Tooth, based on the very interesting comic series written by Jeff Lemire. And I really liked season 1. Season 2 looks to be the appropriate continuation of what happened in season 1. Things are a little bit more intense on a larger scale, without trying to give away anything. If you haven't seen season 1, you really should before season 2, which drops April 27th, by the way. But Sweet Tooth basically is the story of a post-pandemic world in which a very significant portion of the population has died, but in addition, the only children that are ever born now are born as human-animal hybrids. So a lot of people aren't having kids, and so the population is continuing to decline. It's a very interesting take on a semi-apocalyptic world. Things have changed drastically, but there are still cities and towns and power, and so it's just really interesting, a really creative, interesting idea, which on the face of it looks like it could be really silly, and it does have its silly moments, which would make sense, but it's not. It's not a silly story. It's a pretty serious and intense story, and it gets really dark at times when you consider that the main character, and therefore many of the main characters around this character, are children. Yeah, it's a pretty intense series, but it's really well done, very well acted, and very well written. Highly recommend it, and I'm very glad that season 2 is coming that quickly. Literally a month and a week. We only have to wait until we get season 2 of Sweet Tooth. If you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend that you check out season 1. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing, but it's really, really solid, different look at a sort of post-apocalyptic world brought on by a pandemic. So yeah, Sweet Tooth, season 2, and pretty much everybody is coming back, which is fantastic. Season 2, April 27th. Check it out. All right, our next topic is, this was just an out of left field surprise for me. Showtime is making a series based on the 1997 movie Gattaca. This is a screenshot from Gattaca with stars of that movie, Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman. Also starring in that movie was Jude Law. I think this is amazing. The movie is really interesting. It's one of those deep thought type science fiction movies that would absolutely be a 2-hour long Black Mirror special if Black Mirror was around in 97, or a 2-hour long Twilight Zone episode updated from 1967 to 1997. It's smart. It's good drama. It's not a big action flick, but it's tense as hell. The idea is it's a near future world. Corporations and governments and everybody basically determines what your role in society is based on your genetic makeup. And Ethan Hawke plays a what they call an invalid, somebody whose genetic makeup, he's got some sort of genetic condition that means he can't do things at the top level of society, particularly the one thing he really wants to do, which is get off-world. You cannot get into any colony off-world unless you are genetically as close to perfect as possible. So he comes up with a scheme to imitate an injured, rich son of a wealthy family who has some sort of genetic condition, it turns out, so he cannot be cured or recovered from his injury. He is disabled in a wheelchair by even the bioengineering or genetic engineering technology of the day. So he comes up with a scheme where he basically, anytime he needs to have a genetic test done, and it's almost every day at the place where he works, Ethan Hawke manages to keep hair and skin cells and even urine samples and so on from Jude Law's character so that he can pass this test and eventually get off world. And so it's incredibly tense as to whether or not he's going to pull this off. The series apparently takes place 25 years later, so it's possible that some of the characters from the first could actually be in this, which would be really amazing. They don't say that here because they're just announcing that they're working on it. However, original director, no, I just lost it here. Alex Ganza, I think, is the original director, but he is also working with his former partner Howard Gordon, they were the co-creators and executive producer of Showtime's long-running hit Homeland. So they know tense thriller series content really well. They could absolutely nail this. I do hope, as I said in a post in our Facebook group about our live show, I really hope they keep this what I called Gatsby punk aesthetic. And it really kind of looks like that. Almost all of the buildings are sort of futuristic Art Deco. They were doing this before the production designers and Denis Villeneuve did this for Blade Runner 2049 in a big way. And I love the look of it. I hope they don't change it too much. Yeah, it's 25 years in the future, so it would be logical to assume that some styles of some aspects of their world and society have changed, but I don't want them to change that much. I think it's a really cool look. So yeah, we don't know who's going to be in it. We don't know when it's going to happen. They just announced it. Oh no, Ganzo was not involved in the original. The original was written and directed by Andrew Niccol. So I'm looking forward to finding out more about this. I think it could be really a lot of fun. If you haven't seen Gattaca, the movie, go back and watch it. It's a slow burn, tense thriller with a science fiction setting that makes it very interesting. And they deal with the aspects of how the science fiction actually gets people potentially in trouble. They don't have to just rely on standard tropes of, all right, what the heck is up with Twitch here? Why isn't Twitch? Huh? Weird. All right. Standard tropes of mystery stories or thriller stories, they use the science fiction world to actually inform the things that are tense, mysterious, and become part of the thriller story. So definitely check it out. Looking forward to seeing more about this. All right. Talk about reboots, remakes, intellectual property. Silent Hill, the movie Return to Silent Hill, which is the sequel to the original Silent Hill movie, has put out an awful lot more information, particularly about the two leads. Jeremy Irvine from the movie Warhorse and Hannah Emily Anderson from Jigsaw will be the two leads. Irvine will play James, quote, a man broken after being separated from his one true love, played by Anderson. This is based on the game Silent Hill 2, and which means there's the potential for all sorts of really super duper creepy things. And the fact that, here's where we got the original people here. The original director of Silent Hill, the one starring Sean Bean, Christoph Gans, is coming back. He co-wrote it along with Sandra Vo-An, and the two of them apparently collaborated on Beauty and the Beast. Interesting things that the two of them have done. And then a third writer, William Joseph Schneider. The movie is based on Silent Hill 2. This is being done in production with the Silent Hill team at Konami. So you've got the original people behind Silent Hill, the movie, coming back, along with continuing to work with the Silent Hill people at Konami to make a sequel to the Silent Hill movie, which is going to be based on the sequel to the game. So it will be based on Silent Hill 2. Very cool idea. I don't know that they have set a date for this yet. So the last movie came out in 2006. Apparently only made $100 million, but I assume its budget wasn't, massive, based on what I recall. It looked good. It was a really good looking movie. It's not to say that it was, looked cheap or anything. But it's relatively simple, almost all interior sets with some exteriors of the actual town. So yeah, it could have been made on a pretty tight budget. Yeah, so I think that's all the information I have on that. Unfortunately, it doesn't have here in the article whether or not there's any, and this is a Deadline, exclusive. Again, it's based on inside sources, no confirmation from the studios that are working on it. Luminous, hello all. I'm not familiar with Silent Hill, but I like this promotional photo. Yeah, so the idea is Silent Hill is a horror game, and it's based in a town. This town, they actually give the name of the town here, and I can't remember it. I'll just keep looking through it. But basically, the idea is when the characters who are, who you play, come back to this town, it is completely shrouded in fog and mist and silent. It's like there's nobody left in town whatsoever. And then once you start exploring, you find out that there are a few people, and there are a lot more not people, or not any more people, or never were people, or it's creepy as hell. It's one of the best atmospheric, no pun intended with all the mist there, creepy stories in video games ever made. I guess this is Silent Hill. When a mysterious letter calls him back to Silent Hill. I thought it had a different name. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. I would suggest, if you are into horror movies at all, to watch the 2006 Silent Hill with Sean Bean. It's pretty solid as video game adaptations go. And with that, we're moving on to our very last topic. And that is the news that James Gunn and his production partner here, Peter Safran, have picked, big surprise, James Gunn to direct the Superman Legacy movie that's going to kick off the DCU, the movie written by James Gunn. I'm saying this, tongue-in-cheek, but I'm a big fan of James Gunn's work, whether it's Marvel with the Guardians movies, or whether it's, the Suicide Squad, the series Peacemaker. He's really just a solid filmmaker, because he writes and directs. So I am very happy that James Gunn is going to be directing his own written work in Superman Legacy. He knows what the story is that he wants to tell. It's going to start where he's, Clark is already Superman, already, in Metropolis. And it's going to be about the difficulty he has of sort of combining the worlds of being a superhero, being almost a god, and his upbringing as a humble young man in small town Kansas. So that's a sort of big overarching concept of what the movie is going to be about. Gunn hasn't given out a whole lot of details other than, he's fairly young, which is one of the reasons why Cavill is not going to be playing him. But, how any particular story fits into this personal crisis that Clark and / Superman is having, who knows? But it's James Gunn, and, he can write that. So this, they did already mention, July 11th of 2025. So we've got a good, 2 years, 2.5 years before we actually see this thing hit, the theaters. And that sucks. That's unfortunate. But it is what it is. Gunn and Safran have to essentially guide an entire new DC franchise for Warner Brothers, which is why it might have been a better idea for him to put this out into another director's hands, because he's got an awful lot of stuff on his plate. But as we, obviously these two guys can juggle stuff. Safran was the primary producer on Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Hopefully that's not an indication of the quality of the stuff that's going to be coming out of the Gunn Safran DCU, because I didn't particularly care for it. Certainly was not nearly as good as the first one. But again, my review is up on Nerd Caliber. Check it out. No spoilers. But yeah, so he's going to be doing this. We don't know who's going to be in it. I'm assuming that's going to be one of the next big announcements, because that person is going to be Superman for their DCU. And that's, be interesting to see. With the, I don't know, I don't want to get into any of the Shazam stuff, because again, there's things that indicate that Shazam might actually, that the character might actually be part of Gunn's upcoming DCU. Whatever happens in the Flash movie, which is not called Flashpoint, but is basically Flashpoint, we don't know who, if anybody, comes through, but we know that, he's making a series based on Amanda Waller. So it's pretty safe to say that Amanda Waller is going to be as part of the DCU. So yeah, and there are other indications within Shazam end credits that seem to indicate that Shazam will in fact be part of the DCU going forward. But in which case we could actually finally get that confrontation between Shazam and Superman that everybody wants, because that's the, could Superman beat Goku fight that DC fans always want to see every time. I'm kind of down on with that too. But we'll have to see more about what James Gunn is going to be doing with all of this going forward. And other announcements about the DCU, but I'm really looking forward to that next shoe to drop, which I would assume is going to be casting. You've got plenty of time. From what I understand, the script is basically done at this point, so there's no reason not to cast. And it would be great if they got it done way in advance, but that also gives them time to, fill out the rest of the cast, to make any tweaks to the story, and to get the CG right. Oh, Marvel. God. Slow your roll. Well, you have. Iger has said that's, fewer movies, fewer TV shows, higher quality. So, yes, Marvel is going to be slowing its roll, but, get the effects right. These are effects movies. If they're well written, they are great character stories, but they are, at their heart, superhero movies and effects movies. So the effects kind of have to be there. And if that means that they have to wait until July 11th, 2025 for us to get a proper, well-done effects movie, the effects in the Suicide Squad were pretty awesome and didn't take that long. But anyway, holding out that they're going to actually bump this up to a December 2024 release because James Gunn is that good. But we'll see. All right. That's it, folks. That's it for all of our news. I'm going to do a big old promo thing. And that is on your screen right now, some information about our PAX panel, the Cosplay and Photography Shootout. We're doing it yet again, as we've done for the last times PAX has happened. This time we've got an extra long block of time. It starts at 11 a.m. on Saturday, peak quality time. It's going to be at Arachnid Theater. If you don't know what this is, we gather together photographers and cosplayers. We randomly team them up, literally a draw out of a hat or whatever we have that we can draw from. And we give them a theme that they need to create a photograph that represents that theme. And they have 30 minutes to run out into the BCEC and get that photo. They come back, we offload the photos, we put them up on the big screen, and our panelists will gently critique them. We will vote on who we think best represented that theme, and the audience will vote on who they think best represented that theme. And if those are two different things, then there are two teams that will win prizes. The panelists are, in the middle of that image, are the two amazing cosplayers, people I am very happy to call my friends and call friends of Nerd Caliber. The awesome Mink the Satyr and the fantastic Spectra. I will be a photographer panelist, and then, of course, the guy who came up with this whole thing, Greg Snyder, Wonder Llama Photography, will be the other cosplay or the other photography panelist. Check it out. Limited to a double handful of teams. I don't want to say exactly how many. The floor is 10, but the ceiling may not be much higher than that. We're going to make that call literally as we see crowds and so on as people are coming in. But having said that, because it is very limited in the number of teams, get there early so you can get your names into the hat where we put together the cosplayers and the photographers. So if there's only, say, 10 teams, we're only going to take the first 10 photographers that sign up and the first 20 cosplayers. So because we want to get as many cosplayers in within reason, still having it a size that people can handle, photographers can handle, it's generally a photographer and 2 cosplayers. So do check it out, folks. If you think that sounds like fun, it's a blast. While they are out doing their photos, we're going to be doing a cosplay and or photography Q&A. You can ask us panelists anything about anything that you're currently dealing with in cosplay or photography, or just any general question you want in those subject areas. Any subject area, I guess, but we're probably not going to answer many of them. Hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. It always has been. The folks at PAX were really keen on having us come back for this one and gave us the extra time. It's not an hour where we're just literally, trying to talk as fast as humanly possible. We actually will have time to tell people what's going on, give them time to do the photos, and actually analyze the photos and discuss some things that worked and some things that might have been done differently that could have worked maybe a little bit better. Saturday, this coming Saturday, March 26th, 11 a.m., Arachnid Theater, PAX East at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center. We'll have a lot of fun. You'll have a lot of fun. Do please show up. If you're a photographer, you have to have a camera. Phones are not allowed. Camera has to have a removable card. So we can take it out, put it into our card readers, and offload it. That's one of the very few restrictions that we have, other than the restrictions that PAX and the BCC put in place. Like, you can't take your masks off. Masks are required again this year. Photos have to be done with masks on. Unless you go outside. That's entirely up to you. But that's it, folks. That's what we've got going on. And then, of course, after that, in the second weekend in April, I'll be at, and we'll have a team at Anime Boston. We have Wicked Comic-Con coming up 3 weeks after that, 2 weeks after that. It's basically going to be a really crazy April, folks. So check us out. You'll find us at all of those places. And having said that, if you are going to find us at any of those places, do be safe. We'll be masked up, whether it's a requirement, like at BCEC and PAX East, or whether it's a recommendation like at Anime Boston. This mug will always have a mask, and I will greatly appreciate it if you do too. With that, we'll see you at an upcoming show, at one of these coming shows that are starting to ramp up here in cosplay and nerddom. In the meantime, please stay safe, enjoy the warmer weather here in New England, and we will see you at a later show. Bye-bye.